Imagine building a business that generates massive profits, mastering your craft to absolute perfection, and creating systems that squeeze every drop of efficiency out of your operations, only to discover that no one wants to buy your business. And today I'm going to show you the invisible barrier that keeps expert entrepreneurs from getting the exit they deserve. And when I say exit they deserve, I mean potentially millions of dollars. I call the paradox of expertise. Here is how it typically goes down. An entrepreneur builds a thriving, profitable business. They're a true expert in their field. Everyone kind of bows down to them like, wow, this guy is really, really good. Whether it's the marketing, operations, product development, or something else, or maybe all above, right? And before they go to sell, over time, these entrepreneurs, they will develop sophisticated systems and processes that work brilliantly for them. They proudly showcase these advanced systems to potential buyers, and they expect to be rewarded for their brilliance. But instead of seeing all this crazy value, what the buyer sees is a ton of risk. That buyer sees a learning curve way too steep for them to climb. And just like that, a highly profitable business built by an absolute master of their craft becomes basically unsellable. And just to bring this story home, let me share with you a real story. This is something that happened to me. So a while ago, I met up with an entrepreneur. We were at this conference together and we were talking about selling his business. Now, this guy was crazy good. He was incredible as an e-commerce business owner. His Facebook ad strategy was nothing short of brilliant. Like, honestly, I had never seen someone do such advanced stuff with meta ads before ever. And I've met a lot of people in the industry, right? He was doing things like day parting, where there's like this little tiny 30-minute blog where he just crushes it with his ad budget, and the ROAS was out of this world crazy. So after he told me all this stuff, all these like dozens of different strategies that he's using that I've never even really heard of before, I was really, really impressed. And so he was really, really excited because he knew that at Empire Flippers, we've helped made like close to 90 millionaires at this point at the moment of their exit. And really the truth is we probably have made over 100 millionaires at this point if you count all the wealth building we've helped sellers do. He was very excited how excited I was until I told him, this is amazing. No one would ever buy what you have built. Why? Because no buyer could replicate what he was doing. A buyer would look at that and they would realize without years of specialized expertise, I would struggle. The thing that was his biggest asset, his expertise, was also the biggest liability of the entire business, right? Because without him, without his special sauce of knowing what to do and all these crazy nuances, there was no business at all. And this is a big problem that I see over and over again with my friends who are very good at what they do, but they're not thinking things through in terms of the buyer's perspective. So let's talk about the buyer's perspective here a little bit, because to understand the problem, we need to see it really through the buyer's eyes. So as I often say, let's put on our marketing hat and do some psychology. So when you're evaluating a business, a buyer is looking for primarily three things. They're looking for proven profitability, growth potential, and transferability. The expertise problems, they kind of permeate throughout all three of these. But the last one is where expert entrepreneurs fall the most short on, is the transferability. A buyer is going to ask themselves, can I run this business successfully after the seller leaves? If the answer is only after years of specialized training and hard knocks of learning on the job, they're going to pass. No matter how profitable the business is, they're just going to say no. Instead, they'll go to somewhere else and pay a premium multiple for a business that has maybe lower profits, but systems that are so clear and simple that anyone could step in and keep it running. So let's bring this all home. I want to share something with you that should become a core value as you build your businesses. And that is a very simple line called simplicity scales, complexity fails. Expert entrepreneurs often build complex systems because they understand their domain so intimately. The complexity makes perfect sense to them because they're in it. They're like the masters of their craft, right? So to them, it's not complex at all. So these complexities create mostly three major problems when it comes to selling the business. It limits who can operate the business successfully, obviously, right? But it also makes the business more fragile. I mean, you might be saying, well, how could it be fragile? It's done by an expert. And that's because their systems are so complex If one variable changes, the whole system goes through a cascading collapse. They have to redo everything because this one part affects this, which affects this, which affects this, which affects this. It is a bit of a nightmare. That is a big issue with these complex systems. And finally, as already mentioned, it scares away buyers because they just can't see themselves mastering it, especially they don't want to master it after giving up millions of dollars to you. So meanwhile, if we look on the opposite at what buyers really want, there are simple systems, and simple systems are easy to teach. They're easy to scale because they're easy to teach, and they're easy to maintain. If a variable changes, it's okay. It's a very robust system because of its simplicity. It's much more adaptable. And all of this leads to the most important point when it comes to exiting your business, which is it is transferable. It is much more easy to transfer this simple system than it is this complex behemoth that is the production or the reward of your decade level of skill, right? So let's talk a little bit about the complexity trap a bit more. You see, the irony is that many entrepreneurs fall into the complexity trap precisely because they're so good at what they do. They keep optimizing, tweaking, adding layers of sophistication because they can handle it and they understand it very, very well because they're an insider. They understand all this nuance, they see the patterns, they know exactly which levers to pull and when. But when each layer of complexity, they're actually building a business that becomes increasingly dependent on their specific expertise, which means increasingly difficult to sell. Basically, what happens is you start growing really, really fast and you need systems. So you create good systems, but they're not great systems because the systems are too complex. The very skills that made these guys so successful is also the reason why they're often unsuccessful sellers. So what's the solution to all of this? If you are building with an exit in mind, an eventual exit down the road, you need to prioritize transferability from day one. This means you need to document everything. Create clear SOPs that anyone could follow. And no, I don't mean like literally everything, but your most critical stuff should be in a playbook format that's easy to digest, easy to learn, and you can hand it to someone else and they understand what to do. Which brings me to my next point. You need to simplify wherever possible. And that is kind of everywhere in your business. Ask yourself, could someone with basic industry knowledge execute upon this SOP? If the answer is no, you have work to do. Next is you need to automate the complexity away. Every business is going to have some complexity. There's going to be just things that are not easy to do. If they were easy to do, you probably wouldn't have a business. But when there is complexity that you cannot skirt around, try to find a way to automate that as much as possible. Try to encode that expertise into, say, software. You could do AI agents, or of course, the old-fashioned way, actual people with, who are part of your team. Next is you should be focusing on the 80-20. So many people get lost in the weeds. This happens so often. And since you are so inside your business, you probably don't even know you are lost in the weeds. So this is where it is helpful to just like hit someone up like, hey, would you could I share some stuff with my business with you and see if it makes sense, right? To get some of that outside perspective, because often this advice is very easy even for a layman to give. In fact, if the layman doesn't understand how to do things after looking at some of your stuff, that's a red flag, right? Because it's supposed to be simple. You need to simplify. So focus on that 80-20, where the simpler systems deliver 80% of the results and are more valuable than that complex system. In fact, I would strive that your systems do 80% as good as the 100% of your expertise. Because not every system is going to be as efficient as just you being able to do it because you're the expert, right? But if you can give someone to something, they're as good as 80% as you, to me, that is successful. Finally, and this should already be obvious, you should build a team. If you could train others to run your systems, you prove to buyers they're transferable. And even better, you build a system that teaches your team how to build systems that are simple. So that way they don't end up bloating your company. Like say you're looking to grow to an 8-figure exit, it's very likely you're going to have C-suite or people that are kind of sitting on a management staff. And these managers, guess what they are? They become experts at their little domain. And what do experts do? They create complexity, just a natural byproduct. So by helping your team understand we need to keep things simple so everyone can kind of understand what's going on, that makes it so much easier down the road and helps you avoid some pretty massive bloat that is terrible for your business for all sorts of reasons. So remember, you're not trying to dumb down your business to a 5th grade level. You're just aiming for as much clarity and accessibility as possible, which will give you the simplicity premium. Businesses with simple transferable systems often sell for a significantly higher multiple than those with complex, expert-dependent systems, even if the complex business shows higher profits. I've seen businesses with simple systems sell for 4 to 5x of their annual profit, while a similar business in a similar niche with more complex systems struggle to get to a 2-3x if they sell at all. So why is this? It's because, again, buyers are willing to pay a premium for certainty. They'll pay more for a business that they're confident they can run successfully. How can I make my business presentable where it is clear to the buyer you can run this thing? You do that by simplifying all your systems. You're not just making your business more sellable when you do this, you're actually potentially adding hundreds of thousands or even millions of dollars to your exit value. Because here's a secret: if you make your entire business simple, where your employees also understand how everything kind of works, their KPIs is a couple clicks away, and they truly understand what drives growth, guess what they're going to get better at? Growth. They are going to be able to grow your business better because they have more clarity and understanding of how it all works. So here's the key takeaway. Expertise and excellence, extremely valuable. Of course they are. But transferability, priceless. As you build and grow your business, constantly ask yourself, could someone else do this if I weren't here? If the answer is no, you have work to do. Not to make your business less effective, but make your expertise more accessible, which in the long run will make your business more effective. Because remember, simplicity scales and complexity fails. Make that a core value. If you believe you have a business with simple systems already, you're like, Greg, this was useless, already doing everything, fantastic. I want to see you on the marketplace so I can help you become a millionaire, because we're on the road to making 100 official millionaires at the moment of their exit. So if that is you and you want to join the 7-figure club, let me help you do that by clicking the link down in the description or go to empireflippers.com/sell. And I can't wait to help you make an exit.